Welcome back to CAS 133, Columbia Gorge Community College, the Dalles, Oregon, Mrs. Hughitt instructor. We are going to finish up the information about week 3. We've already introduced the support materials. We've already introduced the first video, which is really kind of the learning project video, which is the one that you do from the textbook. So from now on, when you're working in your textbook and you're doing these step-by-step directions, we'll be referring to that as learning project. So that is the first part of what we do each week. Now, for the second part of what we're going to do this week is we're going to be focusing on what's going to be called the application project, but that's not apply your knowledge, okay? I wish we had different names to it, but it's not, so life goes on. And there's some information that's going to be kind of your video. We're also going to talk a little bit about extra credit because I'm going to go right past it here in a minute. There's some directions here, frequently asked questions. There's a document properties you have to set when you do the application project, and a lot of students miss it. They'll even email me and say, it's not in the book. Yes, it is. It really is, I promise. But it gets missed. And then this is an optional note page. And that note page is designed just for you because a lot of these different projects have a lot of pieces to them, especially the PowerPoints. Not quite so bad on the words, but the PowerPoints end up with like you have to do this and this and this and this, and suddenly you have a list of like 10 things you have to make sure you include. And a lot of students include like 5 of them because they didn't make a list of them down and they didn't go back and check their project. So 50% credit type of thing. So there's an optional note page if you want to print it and have it to take notes. If not, no problem. So we're going to scroll down here. Now for this one you will be needing some more of these data files, but it's the same one you've already downloaded, pulled to your desktop for the zip file, or saved on your desktop or your flash drive for the zip file. So you'll just be able to go back to that same folder you used to get the picture for the flyer. And you won't need this form at all because it just doesn't apply to this project. So now what's it going to look like as we walk our way through this? Well, we're never going to use this page at all. And this book may have a little bit more supplemental material applied in this area. This is where they put the enhanced materials. So if you're using the book that doesn't have everything, I kind of flip past. Remember, I'm flipping back past stuff we're not using. So it really doesn't matter. We're not using that. We're not using this. Now this we are using or could be using. See where it says in the labs? Right there is where you can do extra credit. Now in Moodle there is a link that is labeled extra credit information. So this is more of the information than the directions. So you need to go read that. But I've now just shown you where you'll find the projects. And every term, some student gets lost and just starts randomly turning other things in. Other things don't count. If it's not what I asked for, it's not extra credit. So you can do the in the labs. So this is a picture with a flyer. And it walks you through step by step without the pictures and stuff, but it does give you directions. And it kind of gives you a little bit to work here with. When you turn the page, they're so sweet. They give you a picture to work with. So at least you kind of know what your target is when you're finished with the thing. Don't forget the rest of the directions down here. Now, I don't care about the question about why do you think this flyer's in this color. You don't have to answer that. The second one, resave, you can do this one. If you don't want to do the puppy, you can do this one instead. And it repeats basically the same stuff. And then there is a third one, Lab 3. Okay, so you can do that instead if you would rather. You only get to do one project per topic. So we're going to do 3-word chapters. You may do 1-word extra credit. You can do the first one. You can do the second one, or you can do the third one, or you can do none from this chapter and do one from the next chapter. Or you could do none from this chapter or none from the next chapter and do one from the third chapter. You only get one. total for Word. Doesn't matter which chapter it comes out of, it's still 1. It's not 1 per chapter. And then, now this is where your assignment is. So, let's talk about what you're going to actually have to be doing. You're going to be doing this flyer. Let me see if I can get this to focus a little better. Hang on. There, we improved our focus a little bit. Consider this your turn. So that is what's going to be your application project. My older copy of the book is written all over in, so I'm using the newer one, but it won't take me long to probably have it written all over in too. So as you go through this, if you own your own book, a pen is your BFF, best friend forever. Mark things. If you have rented your book, use that notes pad or get out some other sort of a notepad and take notes. So as the secretary of your school's photography club, you're responsible for creating and distributing flyers announcing the club. So that's fair. Should contain 2 digital pictures, appropriately resized, so there are the directions. The data files for students contain 2 pictures called Photography 1 and Photography 2, or you can use your own digital pictures if they're appropriate for the topic of the flyer. There you go. The flyer should contain the headline, so you're going to want a headline, and this is what it's going to be, Photography Club. The signature line, questions call Emily at, and the body of the copy should have, and it can be in any order, do you love photography? This is the club for you. All skills levels welcome, meeting every Tuesday, Student Center. Bring your camera. We look forward to seeing you at our next meeting. There you go. Then the next thing they throw in there at you is it says, use the concepts and techniques presented in the chapter to create and format this flyer. So, did you learn to do some sort of editing on a picture? Yes. Therefore, your pictures should have frames or editing to them. Did you learn to put a border on a flyer? Yes. So your flyer should have a border. Did you learn to use color? Yes. Did you learn to do a banner with a background? Yes. Do you have to make it match exactly? So do you have to do multicolors like you did on Adventure and all of that? No, but you need to do something, not just type Photography Club in black or even turning it purple. Do something cool with it that goes with what we've been learning and shows off what you learned. And then it says be sure to spell check and grammar check it. And then submit it. And the way I'm specifying for you to submit it is to turn it into Moodle. Upload it to Moodle. That's always how to do your submission, is upload to Moodle. I won't bother saying that after this. All right, so that project's done now for the flyer part, but the whole assignment's not completed. So part 1 is done. However, you need to do a part 2. Part 2 means a second document is opened. You start a new Word document. Now, when you're doing PowerPoint, you're still going to start a new Word document. When you're doing Excel, you're still going to start a new Word document. We're going to use Word for this part every single time. So now you have to do part 2. And what does part 2 ask you to do? It says, well, you made several decisions while creating the flyer, where to place text, how to format the text, so font size, paragraph alignment, bulleted paragraphs, underlines, italics, bold, color, all that stuff. What graphics to use, where to position the graphics, how to format the graphics, which page enhancements to add, in other words, borders, spacing, all those kind of cool things. What was the rationale behind each of these decisions? And when you proofread the document, what further revisions did you make and why? And how would you recommend distributing this flyer? So remember when I told you to read the stuff about distributing a flyer? Now you know why, because there it is. So let's go into Moodle for a minute, because there's some more directions in Moodle. As I get ready to submit this down here, and by the way, those directions for submitting those, get in the right place. Week 4, week 3, week 2. Right here, application project directions. There are the rest of the directions written in writing. Read them in case I've missed something here, although I'm trying to be thorough. So I'm going to open this up to get ready to submit it, and it has some directions. It says read the full application project directions found in week 3. So here we went. It will include the grading rubric, so that's up there where you were supposed to read a minute ago. Also be sure to view the full video on doing an application project. That's this. And then basically this is kind of a summary. These are not necessarily every detail, so again, read that PDF. But bottom line is you're going to do, consider this your turn. You're going to do the section 1. You're going to do section 2. There are going to be 2 files to be turned in, and I have Moodle set to accept 2 files. So do not type these questions on the bottom of this flyer, either on the same page or even on a new page. Do not do that. It is 2 documents completely. Part of what we want to talk about on this is you need to have at least a 200-word reply on part 2. It's a question and answer format, so you're going to put the question. I made several decisions when I was deciding what to do. I did this and this and this and this and this, and you explain that all. And then it says, what was the rationale behind each of this decision? So I've got that all in question 1. Question 2 is, when you proofread the document, what further revisions did you make and why? So I'm going to discuss that. And then I'm going to discuss how to recommend this, how to distribute this flyer. I am looking at a 200-word reply, and I am firm on that 200 words. If you have 198, you lose credit. If you have 150, you lose more credit. If you give me 68 words, you hardly get any credit because you hardly did any of the assignment. So you want a question and answer format. You want a 200-word reply. And then you upload it to Moodle just like you will do it with the main flyer part. Do not just type your answers without the questions. Make sure you do have a question and answer format. And something I want to make sure everybody understands is there is a requirement to pass this class. That requirement is you have to have at least 1 passing application project for each area, for Word, for PowerPoint, for Excel, which is a 34 or better out of the 50 points possible. Now, if something is worth 20 points, 50 minus 20 is 30. So if you don't do this second part down here, this part 2, there's no way you can pass the project. Right there, you failed, even if your flyer was perfect. So there we go. That's kind of the information you need to have, and hopefully things work really well for you. Once you get it done, great. Now, there's one more piece to this, and that is you don't have to do that project. That is the easiest project, but you do have some choices. Let's see if I can get this to slide. You can, instead of doing the photography club that we talked about in detail, they do have a hot air balloon flyer that is also an option. And it works exactly the same way. I don't have to bore you to death and me going through that step by step, but you can see it comes through with all the directions you should be underlining, marking, taking notes on, or printing that page I gave you to use. It has the step 2 where you have to fill in the question and answer part. Now there's a third one, and this one's a little bit weird in the sense that this was designed to be done with collaboration. It was designed to be done in teams, and you're not working in teams. So if you choose this third one, there are 2 things. You are the team. You are the whole team. You will have to do the whole thing. And it's the hardest one possible. So if you're kind of wanting a challenge, great. Go for one of the number 3 projects on these. It's your turn. If you are struggling a little bit in what you're doing, or you're pretty new to Word, I would stick with number 1 or number 2 of the options and not go for this third option, because this one is decidedly harder. Hopefully that helps you, and that should complete kind of what you need to get done this week. But before we totally wrap up, let's hop back over to Moodle for just a minute. And look at what you have to submit. So here you're going to upload the Word project, the learning project. The learning project is going to be all of these pages that you did following the step-by-step directions. So that will be the textbook pages for you. So that's your learning project. Remember when we talked about that. And then, if you need to use the form, you can. Then your application project, and the application project is going to be the 1 or 2 or 3. You make your choice which one you want. It's either going to be number 1, number 2, or number 3 under this Consider This Your Turn. Then you're going to do a journal reflection, which we'll talk about here in a second. You're going to have a forum. You have to have a 100-word post and a 50-word reply to that. And if you choose to do extra credit for this link, you may upload it there. And it's only open during the late work week, this week and late work week. It will not be open after that. You cannot wait till the middle of the term and then say, oh, I think I'll go back and do a Word project. They have to be done as we go within that 2-week time span. Let's talk reflection a little bit, because I haven't done that, and that would be a mistake. So you're going to do a journal. It gives you a chance to reflect on your learning and our process, anything that we've worked on this week. It needs to be at least 150 words or more, and I use a 3-2-1 format. Tell me 3 things or 3 things you learned in the unit. Tell me 2 ways that you will use what you learned this week. So how will this apply to your life? And tell me 1 way you would teach something, 1 idea that you would teach to somebody else. It was like, oh, this was so cool. I want to go show mom or dad or brother or sister or friend or stranger on the street, whatever. I would like to show them this. Now, here's the deal, is you don't actually have to go do it. You don't have to actually go down and, find somebody and say, here, sit down, I want to show you this. I want you to think about, though, what is most useful that you would share if you had the opportunity to share. Now, here's the tricky part. You need to make each one of these a paragraph. So you go type, 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 return, return. Always put 2 returns in, because for some reason I think Moodle steals a return. And it just comes to me as a blob of text, which is really hard to read, and I grade you down when I get this big, massive blob of text in my face. Then tell me 2 ways, type, 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 return, return. And then 1 idea that you would teach if you got the chance, but you don't really have to do, type, 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 return. You're done. I would suggest you copy it in Word. It does spell check. It doesn't tend to crash in the middle of what you're doing. And then you can copy and paste it into the text box that's set up in Moodle for you to paste it into. Make sure you go back and look to see if it has the spaces, because if it stole the spaces, you're going to want to make sure you go return, return, return where you need them, so I don't just get this massive text block, because that makes me frustrated to read it, and then my frustration shows in your grade. The grading rubric's down there. This is standard English. There's no texting shortcuts. Make sure you use complete. One moment, please. My computer's being crazy here. Make sure you use complete sentences, good grammar, capitals. Use the word I with a capital when you're talking about yourself. Put in those periods and question marks. This is a professional level class for writing for work. Now, if I was going, I'm not a student, so I can't go in here, but if I was going to submit this, I would go in here and click this and submit it. If you ever get something like this that I am seeing here right now, that means somehow Moodle did not, it's supposed to update when it rolls to the next term. Obviously, Moodle did not do that, so I will need to go in there and hand reset it. So if you're the first person in and you go, really, seriously, it's overdue by 71 days, I don't think so. just zap me an email and I'll go fix it. I try to watch for those, but unfortunately, Moodle rolls most things and then we'll miss something randomly here or there. So I think we've taken care of it for this week. Have a good week, and if you have a question, be sure to send me an email.